My wife framed me for cheating and took my kids, then tried to sue me once I became a millionaire. The security guard at my old firm didn't even look me in the eye when he handed me the cardboard box containing 15 years of my life. My wife, Elena, had called my boss 3 hours earlier, sobbing, claiming she had found irrefutable proof of my ongoing affair with a junior associate. In that corporate world, an accusation was as good as a conviction. By the time I got home, the locks were changed, my 2 daughters were gone, and a temporary restraining order was taped to the mahogany door I had paid off 3 years early. Elena didn't just want a divorce, she wanted an execution. She had spent months meticulously forging text logs, photoshopping bank statements, and even convinced her best friend to testify that she had witnessed us together. I was the cheater, the abandoner, the deadbeat. The court believed her. The city believed her. Within 6 months, I was living in a damp studio apartment with a mattress on the floor. My bank account bled dry by legal fees and a settlement that favored the wronged mother so heavily I was left with barely enough to buy groceries. The first year was a blur of gray walls and the hollow ache of missing my girls' bedtime stories. I worked 3 jobs, menial, soul-crushing labor, because no reputable law firm would touch a man with my reputation. But while Elena was busy spending my 401k on luxury vacations and posting living my best life updates on Instagram, I was quietly obsessing over the one thing she couldn't take: my brain. I started consulting under a pseudonym, working for a tech startup that needed legal loopholes navigated in the burgeoning AI sector. I worked 18-hour days. I slept in 4-hour increments. I didn't buy new clothes, I didn't go out, and I didn't date. I was a ghost fueled by a very specific kind of rage. Not the hot, screaming kind, but the cold, calculating kind that builds empires. By the 3rd year, the startup went public. My shares, which I had negotiated for pennies when they were desperate, suddenly turned into a number I couldn't even process. I wasn't just back on my feet, I was sitting on more wealth than Elena had ever dreamed of stealing. I kept it quiet. I stayed in that studio for another 6 months, driving a beat-up sedan, slowly moving my assets into offshore trusts and private holdings. I didn't update my LinkedIn. I didn't post photos. I was waiting. The turning point came when Elena found out. Small towns and professional circles have a way of leaking information, and eventually, she heard that the deadbeat ex was now the majority shareholder of a major venture capital firm. She didn't call me to apologize. She didn't call to ask if I wanted to see the kids. Instead, I received a thick envelope from her lawyer. She was suing me for a modification of alimony, claiming that she and the girls were living in relative poverty while I hoarded millions. She wanted 80% of my new net worth and a massive lump sum payment for emotional distress. The day of the hearing, she walked into the courtroom wearing a designer suit that I knew, for a fact, was bought with the last of the child support I had scraped together. She looked at me with that same smug, predatory smile she had worn the day she kicked me out. She whispered, "You should have just stayed in the gutter, David. Now I'm going to take the rest." I didn't say a word. I just sat there with my new legal team, the kind of lawyers who charge $1,000 an hour and don't lose. Her lawyer stood up and gave a passionate speech about my deception and how I had hidden assets during the initial divorce. He painted me as a monster who had cheated on a saintly woman and then tried to starve his own children. When it was our turn, my lead attorney, a woman named Claire who was as sharp as a scalpel, didn't talk about money. She didn't talk about the startup. She simply opened a laptop and turned it toward the judge. "Your Honor," Claire said, "before we discuss the modification of alimony, we need to address the foundation of the original settlement. Specifically, the evidence of infidelity that led to my client's professional and personal ruin." Elena's face went pale, but she tried to laugh it off. "That's settled law," her lawyer shouted. "The cheating was proven." Claire smiled, and it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. She pressed play on a video. It wasn't a video of me. It was a video of Elena and her best friend, Melissa, sitting in a kitchen 3 years ago. It was from a hidden nanny cam Elena had forgotten shed installed in her own house before the split. In the video, Elena is laughing, showing Melissa how she used an AI generator to create the mistress in the photos. I heard her voice, clear as a bell, saying, "If the firm fires him, He won't have the money to fight me for custody. He'll get the house, the kids, and he'll be too humiliated to show his face in court. It's perfect. Melissa asked, but what if he finds out? And Elena replied, he's too emotional. He'll fold. He always does. The courtroom went silent. I looked at Elena, and for the first time in years, the power dynamic shifted. The smugness was gone, replaced by a frantic, wide-eyed terror. My lawyer didn't stop there. She produced a signed affidavit from Melissa. It turned out that once I became wealthy, Melissa realized that Elena was a sinking ship. A 5-figure consultation fee from my team was all it took for her to hand over the original files, the text logs, and the names of the people Elena had paid to lie. Your Honor, Claire continued, her voice echoing in the stillness, we aren't just contesting the alimony. We are filing for a total vacation of the original divorce settlement on the grounds of extrinsic fraud. We are also filing for full legal and physical custody of the children, effective immediately, and a countersuit for defamation, malicious prosecution, and intentional infliction of emotional distress in the amount of $20 million. Elena started screaming. He's lying. He bought that video. He's using his money to destroy me. The judge banged his gavel so hard I thought it would break. Sit down, Mrs. Miller, the judge barked. If there is even a grain of truth in what I just saw, the only place you'll be going is a cell for perjury. The fallout was spectacular. Because the entire divorce had been based on a fraudulent premise, the no-fault protections didn't apply. The judge froze all her accounts that afternoon. Within a month, the original settlement was tossed out. Not only did I stop paying alimony, but the court ordered Elena to repay every single cent she had taken from me over the last 3 years. Since she had already spent most of it, she had to sell the house I had built for our family. I bought it back at auction through a holding company for half its value. But the money wasn't the victory. The victory was the day the court-appointed supervisor brought my daughters to my new home. They were older, confused, and had been told for years that I was a villain. I sat them down and, without bitterness, showed them the truth. I didn't want them to hate their mother, but I needed them to know their father. Today, I live in that house again, but the locks are different, and the atmosphere is filled with the sound of my daughters laughing in the backyard. Elena is living in a trailer on the outskirts of town, working the same menial jobs I once did, facing a mountain of debt and a criminal investigation for insurance fraud that my lawyers happened to uncover during the discovery phase. She tried to sue me for a piece of my future, but all she did was remind me that the truth is the most expensive thing in the world, and I finally had enough money to buy it. I saw her one last time at a local gas station. She looked older, her face lined with the bitterness of a woman who had played her hand and lost everything. She walked up to my car and hissed, "You think you've won? But those girls will always know what you did to their mother." I just rolled up the window, the silent motors of the luxury sedan masking her voice, and drove away. I didn't feel anger. I didn't even feel pity. I just felt nothing. And in that silence, I realized that was the greatest revenge of all.